Hey everybody, here I am, Dr. Brenda Bowers. I'm your queen, functioning in this royal position of just being able to say that out loud, because I'm a person who would have never said that, and embracing myself is not something I've ever given myself really permission to do. So when I say that, it is not at all coming from a place of punitive superiority. It is a commitment to continue to validate who God has made me to be, and that it's okay for me to be me. And the only way for me to do that is keep doing this. I have not only children but grandchildren who tell me, you just need to get out here and just do this. You worry about everything being perfect. That's how good. So this is in response to all of those just get out there and do it that I wouldn't otherwise do it. So those of you who are following me through this 8th month in this 8th year, and then each day in between, you see me very different when it's 5:30 in the morning and I'm walking out in the woods and forestry by myself because I feel so comfortable doing that. It is a different space for me. This particular post is a commitment for me to respond to the Lionsgate portal concept. And I really am not going to address it from a religious standpoint, because my hope, my prayer is that we can be more open. If there's something to take away, would be for us to be more open and gracious with each other, and that we, even if we can't forget, that we forgive and allow people to have their own space to manifest whatever they need to within themselves. So this Lionsgate portal, I want to really just talk to you about it from my view of just studying stars. We were raised very much Christian, and we were also, in my family, we laid outside on the grass and had to look up. We had to know the constellations. It was never instead of. It was always in conjunction with. And my parents were always, I thought, very liberally conservative. That they were middle ground thinkers, and they allowed us to come to conclusions spiritually based on all of the things God has given us as his masterpiece creation. So it really, the life of learning that there's something wrong with astrology, with science, with stars, with moons, with the sun, with constellations, with astrological signs, with accepting the God who made man, made the heavens and the earth first, and all the universe and all the planets. That was something that I had to unlearn as a Christian, because they're created this, and I'm using the word human made concepts that took things that were created by God and created imposters. But that isn't new. If we study Bible, if we study the Hebrew, the Greek, the Roman, the Jewish traditions, all of the things that we stand on, biblical translations, we stand on so many assumptions, presumptions, and denouncements that are very different than God had for us, in my opinion. So the Lionsgate portal is really about heightened awareness. So my book that became a international #1 bestseller in 2017, called World Changers and Difference Makers, is all about changing the world one sphere at a time, because God showed me the 5 spheres that I need to unleash to help people with their self-awareness, with their relationship management, and how it starts from the inside out. By the time we get into this experiential expertise that some may call the highest level of awareness that we can reach, I teach that we have to start with self-awareness until we know who we are, whose we are, what we believe, and until we can have a good relationship as that second sphere, then there's no point of us saying we have authority over our own narrative, that we can make sure our organism has the knowledge that it needs, or that we can be experts that get to take experience to a level of expertise. So self-actualization, if we look at Maslow, sometimes it's easier for us to understand when we're saying that lowest level of food, raiment, and shelter, and then safety and security, and then belonging. Then we finally, ultimately, can get up to self-actualization the way that God has revealed it inside of me, and part of, very key to my assignment that I'm getting back on, because again, I felt very wrong for having an international bestseller that God gave me. As I began to write and teach and write and give people my chapters and get input, I really found out just how punitive we can be, just how in the box, and as much as we want to color outside of the box, it's until somebody colors and uses a crayon different than us. Right now, all of a sudden, we now can buy crayons that the primary colors have earth tones and the different shades of what we would relate to as people of color. So anyway, the idea of being connected to the stars, the moon, the sun, the sky, the planets, having telescopes and being able to look into what does exist, aligning with NASA, and being able to engage in the eclipses. All of these are real things that really do happen, and it's really helpful if we would embrace them so that we can make decisions for ourselves. So I don't think it's outside of God's sphere at all, because I believe that we're changing the world one sphere at a time. That's my job. And the Lion Gates portal is just one of those things that is used to help with self-awareness. So some of you who follow me know that I have a process that's called Eat Your Words, that I did a lot of scientific research around the power of the spoken word, whether it's positive or negative, whether it's biblical, fictitious, reality, any of that. The power of spoken words happens at a very germane level. And I did a lot of research and looking at what happens when you look at Asian Scientology, that will show the difference between speaking positive to plants and watering them and feeding them the same, and speaking negatively to them. Same way, the impact of the words, the flowers, the plants that were spoken to in a positive way definitely bore fruit, or was able to produce after its own kind better than those who got negatively spoken to. And that's really what this is about. This is about becoming aware of who we are, whose we are, and how to positively reinforce our relationship with ourselves. not just with God, with ourselves, so we can have a relationship with ourselves. Those of you who know uh, what I teach and what I say is, especially in that second sphere of relationship management, if you don't like you, don't expect anyone else to. And find accountability partners that can tell you when you acting stanky, yanky, and janky, so that you can realign and say, oh, okay, I didn't know that's what I was doing. Because by the time we are being aggressive and abusive and traumatic to someone else, the core of that is always in us first. So that's why that inner sphere of self-awareness aligns and makes it easy for me to talk about this portal, because I'm not afraid to talk about stars. It doesn't mean that I'm not tatted up with my zodiac sign, but neither do I pretend that December 8th is not under the constellation of the Sagittarian. It's just okay. It doesn't mean that we're adopting sorcery. There's always an imposter to love, and lust is always an imposter. So when we lean into the God aspect of existence, then we don't have to be afraid of having a conversation with anyone. Therefore, as I really am a Holy Ghost filled baptized believer, hand clapping, foot stomping, tongue talking, prophetic fivefold ministry person, and a woman on top of it, woman of color on top of it, and I can still have a conversation with you about the world. There are seasons, right? How long is the world going to be around? Well, as long as there's seed time and harvest. How is there seed time and harvest if something's not happening in the atmosphere? Why is it that some of us want to be in the tropics and some of us want to be where it is cold, and some of us want to be where the sun is, and some of us know that if we don't get enough sun, then don't even talk to us, because we can really get unapproachable when we don't have the elements. For me, walking out every day in the elements helps me be at one with what I call God in every aspect other than his human creation. I see the birds and I talk to them. I see the mammals, I talk to them. I say good morning and thank you to the ground that's under me, above me, around me. And you know what ends up happening? I get courtesy calls from other creation. And it is so fun for me. So 13 minutes into this, and some people are like, oh, get away from that woman. She talking about she Christian, getting ready. You don't know what she's going to say. But then some of you are curious enough to allow me to be credible enough. My PhD is earned and paid for, and my DMP is too. And all the stuff that happened along the way is real. So I ain't just talking, but that does not make me superior to anyone. I've always been curious. A degree didn't make me who I am. It allowed me, and I have so many of them because I was told I couldn't. So, I had to always do more than. But I don't have a degree that made me anything other than provide me an opportunity to really understand who God created me to be. I hope that you'll continue to follow me, because one of the things that I am going to do when I get my platform a little better together, not perfect, because I understand that I get perfectionist paralysis, but I am going to offer just some 60-minute pre-recorded segments to help you understand this platform that God has given me. I was actually just looking to see if I had a book just somewhere where I could grab it, but I don't think I do. Anyway, World Changers, Difference Makers. You can go to Amazon. But I go through that, and it took me a long time to do that work because I am different. I am special, some of y'all would say. And I had to learn to be okay with who I am. I'm learning to be okay. So what is this whole thing? From a scientific standpoint, is it real? Is the Lionsgate portal real? First and foremost, the reason that we talk about this being the Lionsgate is because it is under the constellation and sign of Leo, and Leo is the lion. And there's this time every single year that Sirius, y'all do Sirius radio, but you need to look up where this Sirius come from. You look at these things that have adopted the names of different things that exist at a higher level, networks that don't need wire to connect. So those who have leaned into those things then discover things. They discover computer chips, and then we can go from chips to sounds to vibrations to what one may call prayer and another may call a potion, because we learn different things about ourselves along the way. So somewhere between July 28th, very strong Leos, you will find all of us were born under and above something. Don't have to make it astrological, but biblically, there is a time and a season for all things. So, can we come and reason together? Because if we can, then we don't have to be bound by the limitations of you call it brown and I call it beige. Don't know. What color is my hair? Depends, right? That's unique. And obviously, the hair that, is it your hair? If I pay for it, it is, right? Wherever it is. But even being able to do that, being able to become free enough to cap myself, to cover and protect myself so I could learn to be myself. So when Leo and Sirius and the sun and the earth, there's this period of time between like July 28th and August 12th where there's an alignment. And the alignment is so powerful that many people believe that it's almost like a period of time where a genie is unleashed and you can get your 3 wishes, because energy levels are different. People feel more empowered to be themselves. They hear things that they don't hear other times of the year. And this portal, as people have leaned into it more, what is called this portal, seems like there's this opportunity for me to be me. It's the opportunity to not need Disney to tell me that I have until midnight before I turn back to a pumpkin. I can look up and I can feel. So this is just one of those times where people have evidence that during this time, there are different positive opportunities that happen. People have found that they can put more money at risk and it end up having a higher return, that their health is better. But the more aware we become, then the better we become. Scientifically proven that during COVID, those who had stronger self-awareness, those who had a better relationship with themselves, managed the disease better. We didn't need COVID to tell us that. That's been true with cancer. That's been true with HIV. That's been true with malaria. It's been true with leprosy. So how far back do we want to go? And I have been in the lepers camp in ground in Europe. And when I tell you, you can feel the spirits of leprosy, you really can. And, people who want to believe it will, and others who don't will say it doesn't make sense, but they'll want you to believe what they believe. So this portal almost gives permission for people to embrace who they are. Whether it's psychological, whether it's spiritual, whether it's religious, there's a place that says, you know what? Even though we are as far as the East is from the West in what we believe, somehow, doggone it, if I keep going, the horizon meets itself. So then we're not different at all. So we can't really continue the exploration if we're not willing to release our assumptions, our restrictions, our prejudices, what we believe, how we believe it, why we believe it, and why can we change what we believe? Because once we become more aware, we become more open. Once we become more open, as different as we are, the more similar we find out we are. And the Lion's Gate portal does that. So I'm going to post a picture that I took when I was walking on 888. How's this 888, Dr. Bowers? Why you keep saying that? It's 2024. Yes, so we're breaking everything down by twos. So August is the 8th month, and it's 4 twos. It's 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And the year that we're in is 2024, which is 4 twos. The 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. That's why it's considered an 8-8 year. And the number 8, which I can tell you because I embrace it, it's always fighting beginning new and new beginnings because it's both at the same time. And when you turn the 8 on its side, then it's infinity. So those of us who contend with an 8 life, nothing's ever too big and nothing's ever out of the question. If you believe it, you can achieve it. But things get goofy fast. I used to tell the people that would report to me when I was working in billion-dollar corporations, because we're all, at the end of the day, just people. And we all have a right to believe whatever we want to believe. And if you don't believe in the Lion's Gate portal, that's fine. But guess what? It's also okay if you don't believe in God the way that I do. And you know what? It's okay if I don't believe the way that you do. But the more diverse we become, the more alike we find out we are. And there are beliefs that put fear in place that tell us we can't. And then we wake up one day and we can. And that day, over time, one of those periods of time are these portals that we know exist because we can believe it when the richest men in the world can get in rockets and go outside of the stratosphere of the earth because they can afford to. That can be true, and we've believed it to be true, but they didn't go somewhere that they created. They went somewhere that already existed. So, I hope I'm making it easy, even though it's complicated. And I hope I'm giving simplicity to the complex so you can be okay wherever you are on that spectrum. Because you can believe whatever you want to believe and you don't have to believe nothing, and it's okay. But there is science that can prove that January is different than December. And February is different than October for a lot of reasons. So we can understand that. We can look at an almanac and say, how can people say this year is going to be good for this fruit or vegetable or crop to grow, or even livestock to raise? But how many of you have depended on an almanac? Why? Because over time, systems and patterns repeat themselves. But when they align with who we are and who we've been raised to be, then they're okay. But if they start getting goofy outside of who we are, and in Christianity, I'm one of the people that'll tell you absolutely Can you be a Christian and be psychic? Y'all heard me. I said, I hope so, because what is our soul that needed to be saved? And I'm a Jesus Christ follower and believer. God blew into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And there's no way to research the word soul and in that be the word psyche. And psychologists, thank God for them, and what, in the past not even decade yet, that now we're saying get therapy, it's okay. But you know how many Christian therapists have had to be in the closet because of being preached to that if you need therapy, that means that you are a sorcerer, you're a witch, you're a warlock, you're definitely not saved, you're not a follower of Christ, and so you don't need therapy, you just need the Holy Ghost. Okay, well, y'all that got the Holy Ghost, some of y'all acting like you need some therapy. But it's this kind of space we're in. I am so excited that we're now at a point, because it wasn't when I was a psychotherapist in the 90s, and it wasn't cool to be that and be a Christian. So I'm so excited that now we're hearing about therapy, we're hearing about grief, we're hearing about solutions that help us to live, because now we're really starting to get to that curve to where everything we said we never believed is starting to meet everything we said we would always believe. Transformation is not an event. Transformation is a lifestyle. We have to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. So if we just look at that, if we just go to what Paul said as a New Testament writer, that we have to not be conformed to the world. We can't just be so convergent that we can't be transformed so that our mind can be renewed, because he had to be willing to say, I don't care what I did, what I was guilty of. I had an experience, and that experience changed my life. And I'm not going to allow you to talk to me about what I was prior to being transformed, because I know what it's like to be conformed by systems and processes and get paid to do things that aren't the right thing to do. But, I also know what it's like to get knocked off a beast and be blind and then say, hey, all right, let me listen. What's going on? Something that I love about Paul's writing is, go check it out. Somebody let me know. You don't see him calling himself Saul. And you don't see the Lord telling him to change his name like he did with a lot of other people. Israel, those of us who really know Israel know that it's Jacob. And then if we even go back further, we understand Jacob's ladder, Jacob's travail. We're looking forward to it in these eschatological times that we live in, which mean the end times. But we also can go back, and how much of this is the Ishmael-Isaac issue. So, when we get into it, I love those kind of conversations, but this is about Lionsgate Portal. But you see, I got this 8. So, August is 8. So we always know that 8 is always every year when this portal supposedly opens, releasing liberty and freedom and people to do better and be better. What makes this year different is not that, it's a Lionsgate portal this year. It's a Lionsgate portal every year. But this year, the year we're in, 2024, we won't be in another year of 8 until 2033, 9 years from now. So we have bookend 8s. The month of August in the year 2024 is never going to be again. And the bookend 8s are not going to exist again until 2033. But what happens in the middle? I call that the meat. Is the manna. It is the majestic. It is the meal. So make a sandwich every day. And your 2 pieces of bread are beginning new, August, and new beginning, 2024. what's the meat in the middle? What's my meat in the middle today? So my commitment is just to let you know every day, hey, today was 10. If you all walked with me earlier this morning, you already heard me say that and explain that. Tomorrow will be an 11. So I'm committed this month to give you what the insights that I've been given. You ain't got to believe none of it, right? But if any of it is helpful, then we're all better because of it. I'm better because of you. Hopefully you're better because of me. So the 8th of this year in August would have then been once in almost only a decade that the Lionsgate portal opened on 8/8/8. So that's why you had a lot of people doing a lot of things on the 8th of this month regarding the Lionsgate portal, because those who believe in the manifestation of it knew that that day was going to be different than any other day in the history of the world. And as long as we can celebrate our days, or choose not to celebrate any at all, then I say it's okay for people to look at days. Paul said, one man esteemeth the day higher than another. That don't make us better. It just let me look, learn, live, and believe. I would challenge you, however, to look at the science behind the spirituality, because it'll help you have a better relationship with God without letting religion get in the way. And there's a lot of research that shows these flow states that are different. So on the 8th, the other piece that I would say, just scientifically, is when you lay that 8 on its side, it is the shape of infinity. So one of the things that you contend with, if you're a person of 8s, and if you embrace that numerologically, that numbers matter, that we all aren't born on January 1st, we aren't all born on December 31st. We aren't all born in the winter, the spring, the summer, or the fall, and God made all the seasons. So if we start believing that, then, for me, the 8, when you lay it on its side, is infinity. And it's a challenge because you're contending with this never-ending newness. So then the 8/8/8 made this different kind of thing start happening. But research does show differences in health, differences in wealth, differences in awareness, and it aligns to this time that's called the Lionsgate portal. But the big thing is this cosmic gateway that we can go in and out of. So kind of this magical window of transformation, and all your wishes can come true. And if none of it's true, then somewhere over the rainbow, what does it mean? Or do wishes really do come true? Or how fictitious is nonfiction, and how nonfiction is the fictitious? I hope this has just been helpful. You have an opportunity to really just kind of harness your energy and do what you want to do with it. You get to decide what truth is to you. But regardless of what we believe, we can see that people do reach a different level of their potential during this time. And this year, the 8th was just a little more special. So it's good for me to be telling you this after the 8th. So I'm not leading you up to something, right? So you just know that there is this placebo effect of faith and positive outcomes that people would say aren't faith. That my self-efficacy, how I feel good about me, determines how I see the world and how the world treats me. is really all dependent upon me. These are things that the portal is credited for giving people the strength to do during that time. And cognitive behavioral therapy is real. It really is. And it is a very strong psychological treatment approach. And it really does focus on getting a person to really look at their thought patterns. What do you think about in mental health? How do these techniques manifest themselves? How do you affirm yourself? Do you affirm yourself? What do you see when you're by yourself? How do you align to these different principles? And have you ever gotten better when you engage in them? So all of those are things that we know to be true. And I don't know about you, but I just think God is so majestic. And I know that he's not us. And I know that I don't need Toto to pull the curtain back for me to accept that not only am I just a man myself, a woman myself trying to get back home, that I really didn't have a right to call the lion a coward. I didn't have a right to rain on the Tin Man, and I didn't have to have a crow be on the scarecrow. Some of you know the song. Oz never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have. Same for us. So we meditate, we visualize, we journal. I hope we do. We affirm ourselves. Eat your words, that process, and hopefully you'll follow me and allow me to teach you that process, especially for people of color who deal with a lot of health issues because of intake. This process of your first meal being eating your words, that I believe God has given me to enlighten the world on, that it really does help. It helps us to be healthier when the first thing we do is make a decision to be positive. And let us not, as believers in whatever I'm saying, as a believer in Christ, I don't ever want to be the reason that anybody can't feel positive about themselves, to the extent that I have to put someone else down in order for me to feel good and then make them feel like they're the problem. So affirmations is something that we have to do for ourselves. But what others can do for us is validation. So in my process, I teach you, sometimes we have to hear validations before we can affirm, because we got to kind of settle in it. But it is not until we can affirm ourselves that then we can truly be validated by others. Because otherwise we reject the validation and we don't learn to affirm. So I have a process that helps us to be able to do that, and I'd be glad to share it with you. So yeah, there are a lot of astrological assumptions with the Lionsgate portal. There's a lot of energy manifestation around it. There's a lot of debunking, and there's a lot of embracing. It's one of those places where sometimes people who believe God differently and need to suppress ego, they can hide behind some of these concepts. But the truth is, some days we do have better energy than others. And the darker our pigment is, the harder it is to get vitamin D. So it is better if we're somewhere around sun. But it's not good for it to be artificial sun, because then if we lay and we just want to get tan, then we find out that that actually increases the chances of us having carcinomas and ending life early. So it's just a lot of intentionality and deliberateness and getting comfortable with being different. I'm your queen, Dr. Brenda Bowers, and I'm different. And I wish I would have known that being different was the only way to be, even though I was always different. So when I grew up with the Cinderella song initially, I'm old enough to say it, was learning the song. In my own little corner, in my own little chair, I can be whatever I want to be. So if I can pull myself away enough that I don't have to contend with everything outside of me, just let me be. Or if I let you be and you let me be, then we don't have to be in our corners. And now we can start having conversations about what we believe and how it makes us feel. And we can be around people that aren't like us, and we can find out that we're better because of it. So thank you, God, and the universe that you've created, and the life that you've given us through all things that have life, whether by chlorophyll or by carbon, whether inanimate or animate, whether vertebrate or non-vertebrate, whether mammal or non. Oh, good Lord, Dr. Bowers, we ain't never going to listen to you no more. Oh, but somebody will. Not only is there this generation that's falling away and judgment starting in the house of God, there's also generations that are raising up that want to know. So if I had to wait 64 years to become relevant, I guess that's pretty cool. So regardless of your religious belief, regardless of your spiritual belief, regardless of where you come from in the earth or what notion and theory you espouse, just know that all of us look for ways to intentionally be better, intentionally to grow as a better person, intentionally to understand ourselves better, intentionally to be better mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, fiscally. And some of us are just being born again and again and again. Well, you can't accept it that way, so let me go back to Romans 12 and end with saying, we don't have to be conformed, but you don't have to conform me, I don't have to conform you. But what we can do is be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And if that mind is the mind of Christ, then it starts to get really hard to believe that transformation is something that just happens. That is just a thunderstorm that comes down. Oh, wow. I transformed the whole time I'm here? 86,400 seconds a day? Yeah. How cool is that? Well, I haven't given you 8 days. I haven't given you 8 hours. But what I have given you is hopefully a couple of insights that just say it's okay to be who you are and check out the science of it. And I'm going to post the picture of what I saw on 888. And I'd love to hear what you all think about it. I love you. I appreciate you. I respect you for being you. And just know that I'm learning as I go, and I'm 64 years old. And I wish I would have known what I'm discovering now. But then it wouldn't be discovery. But you can do it sooner than me. And if you happen to be my age or older, then I'm here to tell you can still do it. I don't know when I'm coming back to you, but it's 43 minutes, not quite an hour. And I'm going to be popping up live a little more when I can. But at least today, I wanted to make good on posting about this Lionsgate or Leo portal, this door, this window, this opportunity, a window of opportunity, an open door. We use those words, but then when we say and during the time of Leo or the constellation and the stars of Sirius, and that they exist. It's just real. So be well. Thanks for listening. I'm still under 60 minutes. Somebody told me that's kind of a good place to be. So I'm right around 45 right now. And I just want to encourage you. Be a world changer and a difference maker. You don't know how? Well, now you got me, because I know how to help you get there. And it doesn't have to be astrological. It doesn't have to be spiritual. It doesn't have to be church-based. It doesn't have to be only women. It doesn't have to be only men. None of that. Just because we're part of this same earth at this same time, I'm on your team. And I hope you're on mine. It's your queen, Dr. Brenda Bowers, speaking to the queens, the kings, the princes, the princesses, the duchesses, the dukes, and the earls, and the bishops, and the knights, and the pawns, and from the innermost court to the outermost court, and those who think they should be everything, and those who never think that they're worth being anything. I'm coming to you. And until the next portal opportunity, that's why I say until soon. Because today is always yesterday's tomorrow. And the only place we can ever be is now. I love you. Agape. Shalom.